Aloha Hawaii, this is Poka Lainui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. The time now is 33 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock and today is the 20th day of October. It is a Saturday, all day today. We have been talking about some issues. Abortion was the primary issue before we left the program, and we had previously been talking about the foreign policies between Romney and Obama. So let's go back to our telephone and answer the next caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good evening, Poka.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good subject. I'd like to tell you a story. There was a young missionary couple that was in the Philippines. The wife got pregnant and she was carrying her baby, and somehow she got very ill, and the doctors there to terminate the pregnancy because the baby wouldn't come out, not deformed or whatever. Being a missionary, she said, no, I'm not going to terminate. I'm going to carry this full term and pray to God and make sure this child is safe and comes out all right. The child did come out. Child was normal. And the doctors, were amazed that the child is, amazed. This child became a well-known football player. He went to Florida. His name is Tim Tebow. And
I see.
And he, now he's with was with Denver, and then he went to was with the Kermit Jets, football. But it's amazing that his mentality. He's a very well Christian man, and his mother stayed, believed in God and made the determination to carry that baby. She didn't want to do abortion. And I praise her for doing that.
I think you introduce a very important element, and that is the element of the power of prayer. Now, the power of prayer is in the hands of those people who have the appropriate faith, who have the appropriate connection with their alma kua or with their akua and the rest. There are many people who, one, do not have faith in that, and there are many people who have tried to depend on the power of prayer, and the results have not turned out as good as this example. So on that score, it can hit all over the board, sort of, very similar to Christian scientist who believes in blood transfusion. But essentially, it should be what many people generally say. It should belong to the individual whose body will be affected, or the mother in a case of this child. And I think they essentially follow the same procedure. Let the mother decide, and if she wants to invest her decision in whatever it is, the power of prayer or hope or whatever it is, then that's for her decision. So I think that would be consistent with what we are talking about.
Well, good topic. I hope to listen to it tomorrow.
Okay. Let's see. We're still on topic. Thanks for your call, and thanks for holding on. Aloha. And we go to our next caller. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. Let's go to our next caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Oh, good afternoon, Poka.
Yes, good afternoon.
I'm just going to chime in for a moment.
Yes.
On a rather sour note, as usual. But in response to a former caller about his position of not knowing, the church, I believe, uses the argument that it is the potential to be a person that is there at all times, and they carry that back to being against contraception because they consider both the sperm and ova to carry the potential of becoming a person, so therefore one must not
interfere with that.
Interfere with that process. Now, that's a very good rational argument. I would like to go further in response to a question that a woman asked about. I believe she said she didn't understand why conservatives we're so much opposed to the choice for women. Mm-hmm. I think the present conservatives, what are known as Republicans now, which is a misnomer of what it used to stand for. But at any rate, they want, in my opinion, a large group of very exploitable people to use in their endless wars and or to use as cheap labor. And they don't really care. What happens to them is obvious in their health systems and their lack of support for education, but plenty of money for wars. So I think their position is very obvious, and it is not based on morality, but they do use the church, which has the same kind of viewpoint anyway. They want a large, exploitable, uneducated mass of people for their own reasons, which is the same as the corporations, and that is profiting. And as far as a mother whose life is endangered by a current pregnancy, how about a mother with 4 other children, young children who are dependent upon her and will be motherless in the case of this child? And also a child who's born totally incapacitated, who takes up all of the parents' energies and to the neglect of other children. These things I have seen. So I'm not talking about something I read or just thought about.
Yeah.
I've seen them. So that's my chiming for tonight. And thank you very much.
And you can chime in again anytime. Thank you for your call. Aloha. All right. Very interesting callers. Let me go back to our last caller and her remarks. I think her remark about the potential for life and not interfering with even the potential raises a very interesting question. How far back? Now it's even before conception that you should not interfere with a potential for life. If you put it on the justice scale, as our earlier caller had talked about, and the need for justice and the protection of the integrity of all life, then you're running into a close call. What do you do with potential? And then where do you stop? At what point can you interfere with the potential pregnancy? So I think that's a very valid concern. The second, with regards to what I call the argument of the fodder for the future, that what we really need is more kids so that we can use them for war and we can use them for becoming factors in the production line of businesses. I haven't heard that argument used too strongly, but I can understand what that argument is. And then I think the third argument, beyond the physical threat of the mother's life, a mother may be concerned about her economic condition, the fact that she might be homeless and already cannot find a home for 3 of her children, and now with the birth of a 4th one, even more difficult, and she doesn't want to bring that child into a world, or she doesn't want to carry the burden of having to raise yet another child and diminish the quality of life for herself and for the children now alive. And then we come back to that essential question, who decides? Okay. Let's go to our telephone calls. Our telephone number here is 524-1080 in the event you would like to join in this discussion. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
I'm sorry, Polka, it's me again. Yes, I don't mean to be obnoxious, but this is like so stimulating. Okay. With regards to the whole thing about ova and sperm having potential, then that seems to me like every young man who masturbates is committing an abortion.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, really, if you're going to take it to that extent, wouldn't that be true?
I guess you can raise, or you can use that argument, or the young man may say, I was just practicing, and it would have gone in.
Oh, Polka!
I don't know how detailed you want to get about it.
Okay, whatever. And then the part about fodder, that is
yes.
like fabulously cogent,
fodder for the future.
Logic. Yeah, totally logical, logical consequence. Because I do know that there are people, I can maybe try to find the references, but I know there's people who are very afraid of China. Because China, with their one-child policy, has an overabundance of males. And you know that whenever a country has a lot of males of a certain age range who are energetic and in need of work, where do they usually go? The military, or the government, has a way of putting them to military purposes, and that means expansionism, aggression to the neighboring countries, and so people who watch this are very concerned about China, and so that kind of dovetails into what she said.
Yeah.
And then another thing is the purpose, the point of the health of the child, the potential of harm with the child. I will say this. Many of those tests are spot on, but they have to be done within a certain window. And it must be determined and done within a certain window, because lots of times they're measuring certain hormone levels that are the signal. It's almost like an astronomer who can't see a planet, but they see a shadow going in front of the star, so they know that must be a planet. Well, that's sort of the way the test is done, and so if it's not right in the perfect window, it can give you false results. And another thing is the Down syndrome, which is more common now because so many older women are having children. After 35, their chance of having Down syndrome goes
increases,
up precipitously. That's one where it's more like a yes or no question. You can know that the child will be Down syndrome, but you don't necessarily know how severe. And some of them are very high functioning, and as long as the resources are there in the family to support them, and throughout their lives, they can have a very meaningful life. And then there's others that's not the case. So again, who takes that gamble? Who decides? So it's just all the issues everybody's bringing up are so fabulous. This is what I'll contribute to the argument of justice. Okay, and this is part of why I'm so totally about it's the woman's body. Every other argument pales in comparison to that, because men have been controlling women's bodies for the longest time. You can go into your cupboard right now, and I can find you spices that if a woman, when she's first pregnant or thinks she might be pregnant, makes teas, can very well cause what's called a spontaneous abortion, get her body to reject the fetus. Well, at that point, an embryo. Anyway, back in the day, there would be older women who would know this. They have that knowledge. Young women would seek them out. The men thinking that, hey, you're interfering with my establishment of dynasty, you're this witch, we're going to get rid of you or run them out of town or whatever. The idea was control women. Women, until not that long ago, within the last 100 years, were considered chattel, living property. Children and women were part of a man's castle and his domain. So here's my argument. When abortion is legal, a woman may or may not, to her choosing, carry a pregnancy to term. If abortion is illegal, you are forcing every pregnant woman to carry a pregnancy to term. Now, what about these people who say, the right of the individual to choose? Where are they now? You see my argument? It's like either a person gets to choose or they don't. Who chooses? The one that's going to be the most directly affected, and that's the person standing in front of you, and that's the woman. I mean, for Pete's sake, let her have control over her life. Okay.
Anything else?
That's my idea of justice. Okay.
Thank you very much for your call. And this last caller has really set out very clearly, at least her arguments on this issue. The fodder for the future, the China scare, what else can we call it? This test, I had mentioned amniocentesis, which is one with regards to the development of the lungs, and that's what they're testing from this liquid, where they draw out liquid from the not the fetus, but the part of the embryonic fluid. Is that what it's called? And they can tell whether or not the child is can survive because of the lung development, or they want to leave the child in for a longer period of time. But the real test that I was thinking of was an ultrasound test in which they take photographs based on sound images, and they can talk about the development of the heart, the development of the brain, and that kinds of stuff. This Down syndrome, I've also heard it, one woman talk about her child as her joy bomb. And she would take so much pleasure in seeing the child give her joy. And that was a different way of seeing a Down child, or a child with a Down syndrome, sometimes known as, I think it's called mongoloid baby. And I've heard one child with Down syndrome who once said that, they look at us as if we're stupid. We're not stupid, we're just slow. So in terms of making decisions, they're slower rather than making wrong decisions. And this was a marriage between two children, or two individuals who suffered from Down syndrome, and yet they had work, and of course they had loving and supportive family members, and they had the appropriate upbringing. So even with Down children, you can continue with the argument. We will go on and on. Well, we do have another caller, and we have about 11 minutes more on this program. Let's go to our next caller. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, Poka.
Yes, go ahead.
Poka, I have noticed two examples of people, women who are very outspoken champions of equality under the law between the sexes, but they don't have that same sense of justice in other areas. Give you an example, the former editor of the Honolulu Star Bulletin was Diane Chang, who was a very, she was a proponent of equality between the sexes. But I can recall in editorial, and she was the editor of the paper that ran in the Star Bulletin in around August 12 of 1998.
Okay.
After a report from a UN commission noted some irregularities or some abnormality in the manner in which America claims to have annexed Hawaii. And the essence of the editorial was, hey, the UN can't do anything about that. They can't overturn annexation, implying that annexation was, hey, legit. Yeah, and then another example was Patsy Mink, who, of course, also a very outspoken proponent of equality between the sexes under law. But according to Haunani Trask, she was not at all any kind of an ally to work with towards advancing, the cause of AI, Pono, in that regard. She, well, call her what she was, a collaborator with the Americans. So I just wanted to point that out, Poka, that all these, these ladies who feel like they're on the front lines, experiencing discrimination, but yet can't extend that same sense of equality and justice, where they may not be directly concerned there.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Poga.
Okay. All right. Thanks again for calling. Take care. Aloha.
Yeah.
And we do have a bit more time, about 6 minutes left. If you would like to call, our telephone number here is 524-1080. Give me a call. We'll put you on the radio, and you can share your opinion. We now have 2 callers. We'll take them in order. Aloha caller, you're on the air. And
yes, okay, just
yes.
a quick note.
Go ahead.
I guess the previous caller is going to ascribe Doris Chang's or Patsy Mink's characteristics to all of us who speak independently. That's just a thought I've had about that comment. That he seems to be doing it. He seems to have another hidden agenda behind those things. But at any rate, I don't take on other people's characteristics. I have my own independent thinking, whether it's independent and sometimes it is conservative. So it's a mixed bag. And I really don't appreciate having other people's characteristics put on to me.
Attributed to you, okay.
What was that?
No, attributed to you. Yes, I understand.
Well, he did say
yes.
He noticed. I think he specified 2 previous callers, and I do take that rather personally. But anyway, that's my opinion about that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for calling. Aloha. Next caller, Aloha caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi. Okay, I have to second the previous caller.
You take umbrage.
Well, sort of. This is what I'll say. With regard to the editor Chang, that's ridiculous, okay? If someone imposes annexation, then who is it who can lift it? The person who imposed it. And if you refuse to, then you're just being a butthead, and people need to say so and point to you. And I happen to believe that the American population is made up of fair-minded, decent people who, once they know what's happened, once they can be presented with the facts, generally speaking, are going to go to the side of right. And might is not necessarily right. In fact, it frequently is not.
Yes.
Patsy Mink, I love her. Okay, if I could put her for patron saint along with Fabian and Mother Mary, I would. Mother Mary Ann, because well, she did the whole. She's part of the reason why my 9-year-old granddaughter, has soccer to play and things like that. So that was very important. And people might say, "Oh, that's Manini," but you know what? Everything happens in steps. To me, the real change happens in steps rather than some big sweeping change that's popular. And then when it's not popular, guess what? Then the water goes back and it's not supported anymore. So more better solid steps. But I would flip it around and I would tell that last caller that if he believes in fairness and justice and he can see the parallels, then I would like to think that I'd see him at the march for the, women to be able to safely walk the streets and wearing high-heeled shoes, doing the walk in her shoes thing. And I'd like to see him out there supporting women's issues, so that same rationale can flip both ways. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your call. Wow, very strong and valid opinions. Thank you very much. I think it's time to call our show to a close, and I want to thank you very much for allowing me into your radio sets, or if you're seeing it later on television, for taking time to view this program. Although it's not a current hot issue at the present time in terms of politics, this examination is very important, very helpful as we move into further consideration of these issues and other issues. So with that, I will say aloha.
Mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka Pane mai Hawaii i moku o ke ave
no sivila a o ke kanā